Welcome to Running Behind. I'm Joey Metzger, your host and head honcho of SLO. Erin Shaw, by her own admission, is not fast. She's come in last more than once. She's been cut off more than once. She has just made the cutoff with 8 minutes to spare more than once. But Erin gets it done. And she savors the moments along the way, whether it's taking on multiple day trail races in rugged backcountry areas like the Scottish Highlands, or battling cancer and coming out the other side with a new perspective on priority and life. My guest today has learned that the only way is through, and that nearly anything can be accomplished with planning and persevering. In this conversation, we learn how she discovered trail running and adventures like Cape Wrath, how she navigated a breast cancer diagnosis, and how she has learned that she is capable of more than she knows and that she can help others to realize that as well. And stay tuned after the conversation for another installment of Running Out Loud, where I share a piece by Nikita Gill called The Ocean in You. Get your shoes on, grab your sun sleeves, head out for a nice long training run, because it's time to hit the trail. Do you work completely remote, or do you have to go into an office?
No, I'm completely remote, and
Okay.
so there are times for my job that I do have to go travel to one of our locations.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare, really, but a few times a year. Not even, I wouldn't say even as frequently as once a month am I in person with them. So, but our college has lots of locations, and so we have a lot of Zoom meetings just because people in the same department are in two different locations physically.
Well, soon you'll be a professional trail running coach, and we'll get to that. And then you won't have to travel. I did not know about that, by the way, so I'm glad you sent that to me. That was very cool. We're already recording, folks. This is how we go here. And Erin, I know I emailed you. These things are so casual. We're just going to chat. I sent you some notes of things I want to chat about. Here, I'll give you the highlights. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know how you found running and trail running and ultra events. I want to hear specifically about some of these really cool events you've done, like Cape Wrath. Is it Silamo? How do you say it?
It depends on who you ask. You can say Silamo or Silamo, and someone will correct you either way.
Great. So that one event you did down in Arkansas, whatever it's called, I want to hear about that. I know you've had some challenges with health that I want to, whatever you're willing to talk about with that. But I think there's some powerful messages in there. And then, dude, you're a coach. What the hell? You're an ultra running coach. I want to talk about that. So I'm excited. I know you've listened to the podcast. You've listened to at least a few episodes, especially on that long drive back from, is it Arkansas?
Yes.
So you know how these things go. You know I like to start these off with one-word answers.
It's true.
So I don't know if you're ready or not, but Erin Shaw is my guest tonight. And okay, folks, I met Erin at Terra Loco at Resolution Night in January. And I'll get to that, why you were there and why I was there. But so Erin Shaw, give me one word that describes you as a runner.
So I do listen to your podcast, and I did know this question is coming, and I have prepared all day for it, and I still don't feel any more ready to give an answer. I even polled some very close friends for their opinions.
There's no wrong answers.
But the word that came immediately to my mind was planner.
Planner.
I really tried as a runner. I have tried. I often have multi-year plans.
Wow.
And sometimes they fall apart, as we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I sometimes have multi-year plans, and I have things that I'm kind of always trying to work on. And so that was one that came to mind.
That's great.
I thought I've was maybe one you hadn't gotten yet. Yeah.
I have not gotten, and they could be ones I get all the time or brand new. That's wonderful. Planner. I like that. So in my mind, I'm thinking spreadsheets when she's doing these races, and we'll get to all of that. Erin, give me one word as Erin the person.
For Erin as the person, I'm going to go with intentional.
Intentional.
Yeah.
I like that. Very nice.
A little different than thoughtful. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, back in the day, I used to ask people, why the heck did you agree to come on my podcast? I know I met you at resolution night and we chatted and you're like, I don't know, I might be a good interview. Why are you on the podcast, Erin? What brings you here tonight?
Well, so many reasons. I would say, first of all, you had Bill and Mandy on the show. And I'm yet another person in the 6 degrees of separation from Bill and Mandy that connect us. That interview was so great, and you I've since learned in listening to so many other episodes, you do an amazing job interviewing and really getting to know people and hearing their story and sharing their story. And I just felt like maybe I would have some things that would be helpful for your audience. And I certainly am a member of your audience as a slower runner. And I love that there's a podcast for slower runners. Just so many different levels.
Yeah.
Also, I'm confident that we can nerd out about running for way longer than we have time for in this podcast.
Awesome.
So I always just love the chance to kind of talk about these topics with people. And so this just, even though it is not something I'm very familiar with, and I'm definitely a little nervous, I am super excited to get a chance to talk with you.
Awesome. No reason to be nervous. This is just you and me chatting, just like we chatted at resolution night. So Bill and Mandy. Tell me how you know Bill and Mandy. You live, I think I saw Northeast Iowa, so close to probably Winona, Rochester area, or you're doing some races around there. How did you get to know Bill and Mandy?
So I volunteered at the Hickson races 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was registered originally for the 50K, and then when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that all kind of coincided with that race. My surgeries meant that I had to drop. I still did the 25K, and I walked it. But anyway, the day before, they have the 5K and 10K, and so I was volunteering the day before, and they take over, the Storm Trail Series takes over the aid station for the 5 and 10K. And so I was their extra volunteer that Michael had assigned to just help them with whatever they might need. So I got to spend the whole morning with them at the aid station. Yeah. And Bill actually was kind of up the hill directing runners, but Mandy and I got a chance to talk. And then from there, they told me about Storm the Bluffs. And so then I went and volunteered for them at Storm the Bluffs that year. And then from there, I just keep stalking them. Really, I feel like I now am more of a regular. I'm running Storm the Park in 2 weekends.
So am I.
It's going to be awesome. I know.
I can't wait.
You'd say that.
Are you? You're doing the 30K?
Yes.
Okay. Eric, Mario, and we are doing, I don't want to say a live podcast because it's not going to be live, but we're recording on site a podcast, and we're running the 15K. So, we might be doing a lot of walking. We might be a lot of just bullshitting and, goofing around and putzing around and having fun. I'm bringing a tent. Mandy and Bill said I can bring my tent, and I've got my recording equipment. So you will have to stop by the Running Behind Studios and say hi to Eric and Mario and I.
I would love to, yes. And I'm staying, awesome. So after I run Storm the Park, I'm staying and volunteering the rest of the day with them till the last person comes in. So
awesome.
Yeah, I help on the cleanup crew.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love Bill and Mandy. I was going to say Bandy and Mill, Mandy and Bill. I absolutely love them. I talked about them when I started this podcast, and like every other one, finally got them on. Do you know, Erin, that episode of theirs in my little, I use Spotify studio, and it every time I pull it up, it right to the top goes your top 10 episodes. You know what my number one episode is? Bill and Mandy
Bill and
Hansel.
Mandy.
It's not even close. I mean, on my best day, I'm not even close with any of my other episodes. It's them. They're so great. I really do love
It
them.
was a really good interview too, though.
It was. And that's why I love doing these things, because I love to get to know people, and people like you that listen to the podcast. I have all kinds of, I say all kinds, I have 60 listeners, and some days, 120, but everybody listens to it. They just love getting to know people. And that's what I love to do. So, and I even changed the description of this on wherever it was, Spotify or someplace. I'm like, yeah, it's trail running, but it doesn't have to be. I just want to get to know people. I think people are great. There's interesting stories. I don't want to be limited to just, people that run trail runs. I had Tiffany on from Terra Loco. I don't know if you listened to that episode or not.
I did.
She was my, first episode, second season, quote unquote. And God, we didn't even talk running. We just talked about all kinds of political shit and how she, began her business running the store down there. So yeah, it's just getting to know people. Well, let's get to know you, Erin. Let's talk about, I like to start in people's childhoods. I don't know why, because I was not athletic. I'm more athletic now than I was as an 8-year-old.
Sure. Yeah, me
I was
too.
a total nerdy kid who sat in my bedroom, and my dad's like, "You should get some sun on you. Go outside and paint the barn." But did you grow up in the Midwest? Did you do athletics? What was your youth like before you discovered running and trail running?
I grew up in Kansas and until the middle of 9th grade. And I did run a little bit. I don't even remember what grade I was in, but when they have the kids track meets and things like that, where you kind of travel for some kind of youth track. I did do that a little bit, and I played basketball, little bitty ball is what it was called, So I did some of that. And then in school, I played basketball through 9th grade and had a very short stint as a cheerleader, which I did not get for being coordinated or able to do anything that requires flexibility. But I was really loud and I smile really big. And they like that. I'm very enthusiastic. And then I managed wrestling. I really managed wrestling team a couple years. So I was kind of around sports a little bit, but I'm never – people who are athletes or who are super competitive generally would not call me an athlete until maybe now, until later in life. I did run 9th grade track once I moved to Alaska, which was in the middle of 9th grade, in the middle of the winter.
Moved to Alaska?
Yeah.
Where in Alaska? We're detouring here, folks. Where in Alaska did you go to, and why, how, what?
Exactly. Well, I describe it as being a higher ed brat. So instead of being a military brat, my stepdad was in higher ed administration, and he got his first college presidency in Palmer, Alaska. And so I went to high school between Palmer and Wasilla, Alaska, just north of Anchorage. And then once I moved to Alaska, then I was just a band nerd. I played the tuba, and I was way into tuba. So I was all state band, all Northwest band, solo and ensemble. I mean, all the things you were nerdy about in your version, I was the band version of that.
Yeah, with the tuba.
With the tuba, exactly. But it helped. Yep. It helped for I got a teeny tiny college scholarship for tuba, and that was cool.
Oh, you did?
I did.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Where did you get the scholarship at, Erin?
The University of Oklahoma was where I did my bachelor's.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Okay, folks, she's legit tuba player here. This is not Joey blowing on the trumpet, 9th grade.
So that's where, moving mid-year, I kind of, I went from at the time, my school in Kansas was 7th through 9th grade. So I was the oldest age in the grade at the school I left in Kansas, and I moved to a 9th through 12th grade high school in Alaska. So not only was I the new kid, but it was also I was also the youngest in the entire school. And that was quite a mid-year transition. And then the climate change, obviously just the difference of moving to Alaska in the middle of winter was very different than Kansas.
Figuratively and literally, folks.
So much. And then like track season was kind of amazing. I'm sure there's parts of Minnesota that do this too, but I never expected to run across lakes in track practice or worry about moose in the neighborhoods that I was running in. I never thought that would be a thing in my life, but it was. And so I didn't keep doing track. I wasn't very good, and I was very afraid of moose. And because I was the slowest runner, I was always afraid some other runners would upset the moose, and then it'd be kind of like out on the road waiting for me.
Guess what? The moose is going to catch the slowest runner.
Yeah.
So
it's just this idea of like the slowest antelope. I mean, the same thing happens when I'm biking with a group and like a dog comes off the porch. Who's the one that's coming behind, to the dogs already in the street?
They can smell the vulnerable ones.
They
the ones
can.
that are most afraid. Yeah. Yeah. Same with the moose.
Yeah. So that's where like I grew up in the Midwest, and then after I graduated from high school, I went to the University of Oklahoma for undergrad, and I went back to Alaska for another 3 years and for work, and then went back to the University of Oklahoma a second time for my master's, and then did a stint in Missouri, went back to Kansas, and then now I'm in Northeast Iowa. And so I've moved around quite a bit based on work. And I met my husband when we were both working at a university in Northeast Missouri. And then now we're just living in the Northeast corner of every state, it seems like.
Yeah, you like the Northeast.
We do.
Yeah,
it's a
very
good
nice. Northeast corners of states. I like it. Very nice. So is it somewhere in that period? Is it not until you end up in Northeast Iowa that you start running? When does the running happen, Erin, and how does that happen?
Well, when I was in Alaska the second time, I, I watched a coworker complete, there's a women's triathlon in Anchorage. And while I was there that second time, I lived in Anchorage for 2 years, and I watched her do this triathlon, and I thought, maybe I could do a triathlon. Maybe. And so that was kind of the first thing that planted the seed, that idea of, you kind of have to see it to believe it. And I started training for a triathlon at that time. And then I moved and went back to Oklahoma kind of in the middle of the training. And I was supposed to do a triathlon in Oklahoma. And with the move and everything else, the transition to grad school and a lot of other things that happened, I just could not keep that training plan and didn't end up doing that triathlon. But the idea of someday doing a sprint triathlon seemed like the thing I wanted to kind of work toward. And so I did, I guess I also, in college, for undergrad, I also rode crew. I helped start the crew team at the University of Oklahoma as a club team. It's now a women's sport and, like multi-million-dollar boathouse and fancy things. But we were a little
of being
club.
on the crew team. When I was in high school, I had a partial scholarship, which I ended up turning down to Boston College, and I dreamed of being on their crew team. I just thought, that looks amazing. I'm so jealous. So you started the women's crew team at Oklahoma.
Well, it was a club team. I was one of the first founding officers of the club version of that team. Okay. Yeah. And so that was really cool. And so, it's not that I hadn't been active. It's just that I didn't really start to train with purpose until I think 2008 was when I started, and that's when I did my first 5K, as an adult, rocked up to a start line and did a race. And then after that, I did do my first sprint triathlon that next year. And that was the Tri-Zoo. So it was a swimming pool snake swim, where you like go to the end of the lane and go under the line and swim back. So you kind of go back and forth through a really large pool. And so yeah, I started with a sprint triathlon, using that 5K to kind of start the running part of it.
Okay.
And then from there, just kept building. I later added 10Ks, and then I did my first half marathon in 2016. Okay. So it took me 8 years to get there. I did take a couple years off. I had my doctorate, and the years that I was working, I did my doctorate while I was working full time. And the years that I was writing my dissertation, I took 2 years to do that. And while working full time, I completely didn't leave a desk. I mean, I was pretty much typing, all day at work, and then typing into the wee hours of the night for those years that I was dissertating. And so I had to come back from complete, absolute couch all the way to being able to run again. And that's kind of what that half marathon in 2016 was, a really good, like from 2014 when I finished my doctorate to 2016, that was that, again, like multi-year plan. Yeah. And then same thing, from the reason I did a half marathon was because I had a goal to do a half Ironman for my 40th birthday, which was 2020. And so from 2016 to 2020, I was like, well, I'm the worst at running at the time. And so I better figure out how to do this run thing so that the other two I can kind of limp along. It'll be okay. And so then, I worked toward, just kept doing more and more all different road races to prepare for this half Ironman.
So now, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to, for myself, mainly, a sprint triathlon is a 5K, right? And then how long is the swim and how long is the bike?
Usually the swim's around 500 meters.
Okay.
And then the bike, in this case, was, I think, 14 miles.
14 miles. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a sprint. There is, is it called like Olympic? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's like double that?
Yeah. Pretty much. It's a 10K run. Yeah.
Okay. And then the half Ironman is a half marathon.
Yep. How
long is the swim and how long is the bike? And I'm sorry, I'm sure some of my listeners are like, dude, you're so dumb. You don't know these things.
Not at all. I could be wrong too, but I'm pretty sure the swim is 1.2 miles. Okay. And the bike for mine was 56 miles.
Because it all equals like 70.3 or whatever that exactly. is. Yeah, whatever. All right.
I'm also not a triathlete anymore to know. I mean, I would like to someday maybe do that race again just to see if I do better. But, yeah.
I when I was a kid, I was a great swimmer. My mom made all of us kids. Dad didn't learn how to swim until he was like 60 years old. All of us kids took swimming lessons. To the YMCA all the time. I was great. My sister was a lifeguard. I got right up to the point of being certified as a lifeguard. But I tell you what, when I think about a triathlon, I'm like, I don't want to swim. I don't want to swim in a dumb lake or something. No, I don't want to swim. I'll bike and run. That's fine. I am not swimming.
You just need a duathlon.
Water is for like pontoons and a beer and hanging out, It's not for swimming. Okay, so you do the half marathon to get ready for a half Ironman. Yep. Do you do a half Ironman? What happens next?
So I end up doing numerous half marathons. And before I got to the half Ironman, I found ultra running. And it was the weirdest thing. You remember back in the day when there's BuzzFeed would have the listicles of 50 fitness podcasts, for example. So that's the one I found. And I was looking through the list and there was one called No Meat Athlete. So shout out to No Meat Athlete. It's all their fault.
No meat?
No Meat Athlete. It's vegan ultra
vegetarian?
Running. Yeah.
I'm writing this down. Hold on a second. No Meat Athlete.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have had a podcast for a long time. I think they still have a podcast, but they talked about, I mean, they were vegans, but it was all about like ultra running and sometimes about veganism, but they just had the best banter. And I listened to their first 10 years of podcast episodes. I just binged them in about 6 months. It was pretty remarkable. But in the process of that, one of their guests was Sid Garza Hillman, who now has written Everyday Ultra Running and like has the book out and has his own coaching and all these different things. But he's also the race director of the Mendocino 50K. And he was talking about this race, and it just sounded absolutely stunning. And I went to the website, and it is absolutely stunning. And so I decided I had to figure out how to run a 50K. And so I went from half marathon to a 50K, and I did my first marathon in that race.
So I've got your ultra sign up here. You sent me the link. I made sure you're right. There's quite a few Erin Shaws. We've got the right one here. 2019.
Yep.
You do that's your first marathon, is the 50K at Mendocino Coast. God, that's got to be gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning.
I love California, especially Northern California. That's your first marathon too, huh?
Yep. I took a picture. Wow. So at the time, I didn't even have a watch, like a sports watch at all. I was doing it on my phone. And I took a screenshot of the moment that on my Samsung Health app, it said 26.2. I took a screenshot of it to be like, I really did it. I ran 26.2 miles.
I know.
And I was in the middle of a gigantic hill and didn't mind the break. But that was my first time running a marathon. I don't have any plans to do a road marathon. I won't say I won't ever do it, but I don't have plans to do one. But I really loved that course. It's a single loop, which is great. So gorgeous. And it's also, as you know, the trail running community is amazing. The culture at trail runs are amazing. And that race is intentionally kept at, I think, 150 registrants. It's very small. And those aid station volunteers, they hop kind of throughout the course. They all knew your name. They all were, they remembered which zipper you'd asked them to help you with 3 times ago. I mean, so cool. Awesome. It was the best, especially for a first ultra. It was just so awesome. I really, really love that race. And I was the last finisher, so I got my first DFL.
No way. You were DFL?
I was DFL. I was official DFL because there were technically 2 more people behind me that did not get to finish because they just weren't moving fast enough to. I was already over the cutoff by a little bit. He let me go ahead and finish, but they didn't get on ultra sign up. At least they didn't get a finish time. But there are technically 2 other people behind me. But yes, that was my first. I have several.
You have several.
I'm pretty sure. Wow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I am so impressed.
I mean, sometimes I don't actually finish the race, so that's also. You're not DFL, but you're still.
You do a lot of epic shit, though, and so I think we'll let that pass. And I mean, think about this, Erin. We're sitting here talking about this, doing a podcast about these crazy trail runs that people think. What's the percentage of the world, of the United States, of Iowa, of Minnesota, that actually do these things? That run a half marathon? I remember I ran my first half marathon, and I am married to a woman who used to run marathons and pretty fast. And I was always like, how do you do that? I don't get it. How do you go that distance? And now I've gone, 30 plus miles and hope to go some more this year. But yeah, that is crazy. I am so impressed. I'm looking at your time, 9 hours, 51 minutes. I look at that and I'm thinking that's pretty good for 50K. I imagine there was some climbing up and down around. As you go up from the coast in California, if it's like Marin County, you climb up. So
Yeah, it. I think most of my 50Ks that I do are around 4,500 feet total, and I think it was right there with that too.
So you get done with your first 50K, your first marathon. And are you hooked right away? Or does it take a while? Or are you like immediately like you're like, I want to go 100 miles? How long till you go, I want to run 100 miles? How long does that take?
Still don't know if I want to run 100 miles. I'm a little scared about a 100-miler all at once.
All at once. Let's qualify that because we will get to some races, some events you have done where you have gone well past 100 miles. But you're saying you're still scared to do 100 miles all at once.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years. But
But once you do that, the triathlons, the Ironman, that's all out the window. I don't give a crap about that. It's all trail running now.
Nope. I did one. I did still do it. But the pandemic had to hit first. So I was registered for the half Ironman in 2020. Pandemic postponed it. So I was still 40 when I completed the half Ironman. I was last at that also. Again, I got to finish. The person behind me was not moving enough and did not get to have an official result. So that's something that is like important to talk about when we talk about DFL is like there's still often someone else behind you, right? But
when you say that, Erin, do you ever watch? I'm a nerd. I watch BattleBots, and it's these robots that fight, and then like one gets so beat up it starts moving slower and slower. Eventually, it's crab walking, and then there's like this referee that comes in and counts it out. That would be like the person behind you. 10, 9, you're out. Yeah,
and it's hard. I mean, it's just So I guess on the advice side of things is if you've got anything left, try to look like you're moving, even if you can't move very fast. Like look like you're running.
Whether you're a robot or an ultra runner,
sometimes they'll look down the street at you and see like, yeah, she's moving okay. Let's let her finish.
Yeah.
I did. So I did finish it, and then they immediately took down the finish line the second I crossed it.
Yep. Been there.
That's
been
how
there.
it happens.
I've had them take it down before I crossed. So
and they saved me. That half Ironman has a fruit bar at the finish, and they even saved me some of the fruit bar. It was the best. Just fresh cut fruit, like all different kinds. It was amazing.
Where was that at? Was that in Iowa or no? You weren't in Iowa.
That was in Wisconsin. Actually, in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So it's on the swim is on the town lake there, and then you bike out into the country. It's 2 loops of everything. So 2-loop swim, 2-loop bike, 2-loop run, or maybe I can't remember if the run was 2 loops or not, or if it was a out and back. But the other 2 parts were loops.
Okay.
And really fun atmosphere, super supportive. I had a bit of I was actually registered for a different half Ironman the week before. And that didn't go very well. But we're not going to talk about that because now Bill and Mandy are in charge of that race. And I'm confident it's going to be amazing for everyone else now.
They're in charge of this one?
The one that I ended up not finishing.
Winona?
No, a different one.
The one up north that they took over last year.
Yeah.
Which one is that again, Erin?
Chisago Lakes.
Chisago Lakes. Okay, we won't. Yeah, it's now great. Now you've got to do it. You've got to
and
go
it
back
was
and
great
get
before,
redemption.
I'm sure, for faster, more confident people. But now with Bill and Mandy, I think it will be also supportive for.
They must.
People like
I know they don't like to do cutoffs. They have to have cutoffs for a triathlon, don't they?
I would
what is
think
the
so
cutoff
because
for,
of the
for that?
road.
Chisago. What's the cutoff for the Chisago now?
I don't remember. It's been a couple years.
Okay. I mean, that's always
usually
the first...
with like the road support and things like that, there's certain factors that they have to have cutoffs.
I get that. I'm not, I told Bill and Mandy this too. I'm not I'm not offended by race directors, and I always make fun of my buddy Tim Tollefson. It's like I'm not mad at them for having cutoffs because they have to. They
They're
have
important.
for
Yeah.
safety, for road closures, for all of that. They're dealing with all kinds of logistics. They have to have cutoffs, but sometimes, I mean, it's the first thing I look at. I'm like, okay, what do I have to average? Is that realistic? Can I do that? I mean, I'd love to do that, but I'm just not fast enough right now. So I'm thinking in my 60s, Erin, that's when my speed's going to come out. I'm going to be winning my age group in my 60s. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait.
I just tell myself I'm just getting started. That's how I
That's
see it.
me too.
'Cause
Me too.
I do feel like I'm not as fast as I'm going to be in life in general. I keep getting, and it really isn't speed as much as efficiency. Like it is more about all the other elements of,
Oh yeah.
and for the types of races, especially that I often do, there's other ways besides just leg turnover that you can improve your speed with.
We don't need to go faster than 11 or 12-minute miles. We just need to be able to do that all day long.
Yep.
And power hike the hills.
Yep.
And you know what? We're gonna be middle of the pack if we keep that up. God dang it.
That's right. Look out. Have to rename your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what would I do? So, so you do the triathlon. COVID comes around. I'm looking at your ultra sign up here. I've got it up in front of me. You have done a 50 miler. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. That was in 2023 in Wisconsin.
Yep. So after
what is it called? T-Bunk Endurance. Okay.
Mm-hmm. T-Bunk
Tell me
Endurance
about that.
Challenge.
Tell me about that event and that experience running 50 miles. It's not 100, but that was all at once, right?
It was all at once. Yes,
Okay.
it was. So that was kind of in my lead up to my first attempt at Cape Wrath. I started, I guess, so Cape Wrath was my big multi-year plan. So after the half Ironman, the next big multi-year plan was Cape Wrath Ultra, which is a 250-mile, 8-day stage race in the Scottish Highlands.
I've got a lot of questions for Cape Wrath. Are we going to talk Cape Wrath, or do you want to talk the 50 miler first?
But we can start with kind of the build up to it. But that's just kind of what I was like leading up
Got
to.
It. Okay.
And on Cape Wrath, there's 2 different days that are mileage into the 40s. So between I think one day's 42 miles and one's like 45. And so in the lead up to Cape Wrath, I did work with a coach for about 18 months. And that was something that he had recommended, was to do a 50 miler to see what that feels like to do the 40 plus miles. And so I really I didn't care so much if I finished the 50 miler. I just wanted to make sure I got to like 46 miles and see what it felt like. But I did do that. I did some other 50Ks kind of leading up to it. And then that one is T-Bunk Endurance Challenge, is the same race director as the Glacier 50K that I had done. And those are both over so the Glacier 50 is on the Ice Age Trail, kind of on the northern corridor of the Ice Age Trail. And in the fall, it's in October, it's absolutely gorgeous. And like just the leaves are beautiful. And then T-Bunk Endurance Challenge is usually in November. That's a looped course on Nordic ski trails, but it's still in that area over in Kettle Moraine Forest and that kind of near Whitewater, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
was kind of where that was a hotel that we used, was in Whitewater. And then it is I think it's about a 9-mile loop grass ski trail. Mostly grass. There's a couple sections that are a little rocky and a little bit of elevation change, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah. And
then there are people running all weekend during that race. Oh. So there's races that start, they have They may have up to a 300 miler now, but I'm pretty sure they have a 200 miler that you start Friday morning, you start running, and you just keep doing the loops throughout the entire weekend until Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And so people can do all sorts of things. Like they use that race and that support and that structure to see how far they can go, to try to do longer distances, whatever it is. There's a night 50K, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
The 50 miler I did was just a regular, like during the day, and then you went into the evening. So I finished it, I think like 7 p.m. or somewhere around there. And so it was dark, but it wasn't that long in the dark. And then they have a 100 miler with that as well. And then what's also fun is there's no pacers for that race, but anyone can register to run a single loop, a single 9-mile loop.
Yeah.
And then it says if that person registers, if they're not having enough fun, then they're going to get sent back out for another loop. And also, that person who's registered for that 9-mile loop can start at any time from Friday morning to Sunday afternoon. And so it's also a really creative way to get a chance to run with somebody. So my friend ran her 9-mile loop on I think my third loop was the one of the 5 loops. She went on my third one with me, and that was really fun. Yeah, it's super. I thought it was a really creative way to not have pacers, but also like, make it fun.
I love that. My buddy Dave Shannon runs Fans Ultra event here in the Twin Cities. It's at Normandale Lake. It's a little 2-mile paved path around Normandale Lake. Courtney DeWalter, by the way, who kicked butt at it years ago. He remembers that. But kind of the same thing where they just say, you can, it's open to the public. So anybody can run on that path. So last year when I did it, I did the 12-hour, and a buddy of mine from work showed up and he did 4 laps with me. He was just like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't know, just kind of jogging, walking. So he hung out with me for 4 laps, got his run in, and it was awesome. It was my first chance having like a pacer. And so Mario and Eric and I are all doing it. Mario and I are doing 24 hours straight, and Mario, I think he's going to hit 100 miles. I'm going to try to hit 100 kilometers. We'll see.
That's so great. I love it. When is Fans?
You did. I'm looking at your 50 miler, Erin. You did it in 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's fast. That's not DFL. That's fast in my book.
That 50 one miles had a 13-hour
hours?
cutoff, so I was motivated.
Okay.
But it also wasn't, the terrain really made a difference on that one. So pace-wise, running on the grass and kind of very little technical terrain really made a difference, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned Cape Wrath. I want to talk a lot about Cape Wrath. I want to know first how you found out about it. Mm-hmm. What made you excited about it? I think I know it's over in Scotland. I want to hear all about it. Tell me about Cape Wrath, how you found out about it, why you got excited about it, what your plan was. Let's hear about it. You end up doing it twice, I think, right? Yeah,
I've attempted it twice.
We're going to talk through the whole story of everything.
Sounds good. Anyone who knows me knows I'm always happy to talk about Cape Wrath. I found it in 2019, and this is going to be something for the show notes. I found it on the Trail Running Film Archive, which is a gold mine to spend all of your time, especially during COVID, watching trail running films.
Okay.
I think it's someone in Norway who has tried to compile as many of the trail running films as possible. Okay. And there's a couple different ways that they're organized. Some of them are by athlete or by filmmaker. But then also there's the races alphabetically. And so I was just starting at A, and I've worked through, at the time, through 2021, I had definitely worked through most of those films during the pandemic. It's kind of the thing I did. But as I went through the alphabet, I came across a documentary from the first year of Cape Wrath, which was 2016, I think. It used to be run every other year. And so I think 2016 is the year the documentary is about. And I really struggle in altitude, and I really struggle in heat. And I was watching this film, and it's rainy and cold and windy and hard and gorgeous. and a little part of the back of my brain thought, I wonder if I could ever do that. That seems crazy. No way.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I looked at it and thought, that looks like an Erin race. And so it took 2 more years before I told anyone else that I was thinking about that race. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my husband until 2021.
Oh, gosh.
And finally, I just really secretly kept watching, learning a little bit about it and reading the website. And we went to Scotland in 2019. In August of 2019, I have this picture of my husband and I in the highlands. And I looked up at the highlands to myself and was like, I can't believe people run here. And I can't imagine me running here. Is that even possible? And so then by 2021, I told them. And then the next year, I told a few more trail running friends and sent them. So dot watching is a thing, especially in the UK. Those races all have trackers, and you watch people. Yeah. And I started to be watching the races, and then every day of the race, they had an amazing media team that would turn around a daily film. In 2025, they did a little bit differently, where they did all the footage and then compiled the films after the fact. But in 2022, for example, as I was dot watching, they're releasing these daily films and turning out just amazing. They're, just 5 or 7 minutes, but absolutely stunning, telling the story, kind of showing what people are going through each day. And the weather's always different, everything. It's just amazing. Totally epic adventure. And so I'm starting to watch it, starting to tell people about it, and starting to train for it. And then, I just kept building. And then, like I said, I hired a coach. He had won the first year. And so I did decide to go with, an elite runner as a coach to pick someone who knew so much about the course, and things like that. And I also spent a lot of time, I traveled over there starting in fall of 2023. I started going over for what they call recce's. So in the UK, it's very common to go and practice on the course. And so what we would call doing reconnaissance or recon, they call a recce. And you go over and you do different parts of the course. And so for many of the UK races, it's really common for athletes to go and do different sections of the race course. And so for me, I was working with Trail Running Scotland, and they were the official recce partner. And so I did guided runs with them and with other people. And so then I also got to meet future participants where, they had, some of them had done it in the past and now wanted to get stronger to go back. Others were also, aspiring participants like me. So then, by the time I showed up to the race in 2024, I unzipped my tent on the first night and knew 2 other people in my tent already, which was so amazing. And we're actually still friends. That tent and I were all very tight. So shout out to Tent 5. It's the best. But yeah, and so that's kind of how I found it. Okay. And I can just keep going if you'd like.
No, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about it for those that don't know about it. I just glanced at it. Basically, Aaron, does it start in the city of Glasgow or it's
Fort
north of
William.
that? Which one?
Fort William.
Fort William. And it
Yep.
goes to not the very tip, but close to the tip. It goes up to, is that called Cape Wrath where it ends?
Yeah, it's a lighthouse on the northwesternmost
Okay.
point of the mainland. And yeah, it's a lighthouse, a remote lighthouse. And you get there on foot
Yeah.
over those 8 days. And most of the course is completely remote where you can go the whole day without seeing civilization or even, I mean,
Crazy.
much of the course you can drink the water because there's not human or animal interaction with the land, and so it's some spots are just silent.
It's a
and
multi-day event. Total distance is it probably in kilometers? What's the total kilometers?
400 kilometers, 250 miles, roughly. It's rounded up just a little bit to make it easier to advertise, I think.
Sure. And you get it's 8 days, and there's distances you have to make each day by a cutoff.
Yep.
And if you get cut off, what you're just done. You gotta pack
you're
up tent
cut
5
off-
and go home, or what? What do you do when you're cut off?
Some people do go home, but they offer an option starting in, I think it started in 2024, maybe in 2023. They added the option to do what's called the Cape Wrath Explorer. And so that's what I've finished twice, is the Cape Wrath Explorer, which means that once you've missed a cutoff, then you switch to the non-competitive. You're allowed to continue with the race, but you're in the non-competitive version of it. And the distances for the Explorer can vary widely. Everybody does the exact same first day. And after the first day, then people can choose to be on the Explorer and do half or a third of the days. There's different options on every day of like what the mileage is. But I think the shortest combination of options is still around 110 miles. So it's still a lot. It's still a huge accomplishment. And so some people, once the Explorer option existed, some people would register for just the Explorer to complete the Explorer, and it added another element for people to be able to attempt it. But then also for people like me that were chasing cutoffs, then when you miss a cutoff, you switch from the Ultra to the Explorer. And you do get a different medal. It's just as big and heavy, but it's not the one, the coveted one from the Ultra. But you do still get a finisher's medal. You still, cross the same finish line and, do those things. And so in 2024, I missed a cutoff on day 3 that catches a lot of people out. It's very quick, and
What are we talking? Well, how far and how quick? And
it's
do you
not
remember?
it's not even easy to describe.
Okay,
It
that's
is
fine. I was just curious.
because it's so, yes, technically there is a miles per hour that you'd have to meet to get there. I actually don't know what it is, but but the element of what you're doing, the first 2.5 hours of that day, you're climbing. It took me 2.5 hours to climb I think it's 2,500 feet, but it's constant, or near constant. And then, right after that climb, you have a boulder field. And then right after the boulder field, then you have a descent that is partly pathless. And then you cross a river. And then you're on a path. So it's some of that kind of stuff where the terrain and the climbing really eats you up. And so once you're on the Explorer, you can technically still do the full day. And so just because you miss a cutoff on day 3 and you get transported back to camp, you could start and do all of day 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 if you wanted to, and if you can still make the cutoffs on those other days. So I did not choose that. In 2024, I chose to switch to a running vacation and save myself for day 7. And that's another day with a fast cutoff. And I knew how beautiful it was. And so I wanted to kind of have a little bit left in the tank to take that one on. Okay. So I split and chose some like shorter days. So when I did it in 2024, my total distance by my watch, at least, I can't really go off of the website because those times on the website include the transportation of you in the vehicle back to camp. Oh, yeah. Because you have a tracker on your body that is tracking you for that website. And so according to my watch, I did 170 miles that year. And then in 2025, I spent the whole next year working very hard and kind of adjusting things. And, that idea of can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Yeah. And so I added some different things, changed my training up a little bit, and came back in 2025 and made it till checkpoint 2 of day 7 before I missed the cutoff.
Kidding. Day 7. Oh God.
So I was like so close yet so far. Like it is definitely still a cutoff that people all like very often people like me get caught. I chase those cutoffs every single day. I had this one volunteer, it was so nice. He's like, "You are executing this race with such precision. It is absolutely amazing." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. This is total slot pool. Like all I am doing is running at the top of my ability and flying, like trying and pushing myself to just get across the cutoff and then like keep going." And so that was on day 6. And on day 6, right before I saw him, I had been like trying to not fall asleep on my feet. And then right after, I fell multiple times and started doing that. And so I was just like, there's no precision going on here, buddy. I am just hanging on as best I can. But it was cool. And it was really inspiring to a lot of people, which it was amazing to me. When you're at the back of those kinds of races, you're getting into camp and everyone else is already asleep. Like everyone else is in bed. And because I'm getting in, at like 9:30, the final cutoff every day is at 10 p.m. So if I manage to make the cutoffs all the other hours of the day, which I did until day 7, in the middle of day 7, then I had until 10 p.m. to then get fully in. So at the end of day 3, I did make that cutoff. I'd missed the year before, but only by 10 minutes. And so there's no time to mess around. Had to keep pushing. And then I finished that day. That's what's in the video that I sent you, that I finished that day with less than 8 minutes before the 10 p.m. cutoff on a 15-hour day. And I just did the same thing. I had a little deja vu. I just did the same thing at Silamo on the 50K with another 8 minutes to spare, dashing into the finish line. So that's a thing for me now, I guess. Right. But yeah, so that's where Cape Wrath was unfinished business for sure.
Yeah, we'll get to Silamo. I want to talk about that because you did that the spring. So you do it 2 years. The second year, 2025, last year, you got over 200 miles.
I think
then,
220.
Right? 220. Yeah. And you did the 8th day. You did a shorter distance, or what do you do that 8th day when you get cut off?
The 8th day was a weird one. In 2025, there were 4 different options because of a storm. And I was one of 2 people that chose a very odd choice. So there was one option to do only the road. There's a section of road on that day, and you could run just the road. You could transport to the end of the road and start running the trail section, and you could go all the way to the lighthouse, which is the finish line. I'd already been to the lighthouse the year before, and after missing the cutoff, I was just kind of like, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm going to do something. So I chose instead, like, I'm going to do something that's really unique, which is to do an out and back from the drop off to Sandwood Bay, which is this beach that's in the first third of that day. It's beautiful, and the weather was epic. So by choosing to go on to the lighthouse, you did have to go further. I think it ended up being 12 miles with the adjustments they made because of the race. So some people did the entire, like if you were in the ultra, you still had to do all 16 miles from the camp. All the explorer people had these 4 different options. And so mine being an out and back meant that everybody else, except for the 2 of us, did not have to turn back into the wind. They had the wind at their back, the rain at their back, the whole way pushing them. And in the end, like some sun came out and all sorts of crazy things happened. The weather was completely wild. But I chose the one that was very Erin. You got out 4 miles out and you turned around and you went into the 50-mile-an-hour wind.
Into the hurricane.
And the rain.
Yeah.
And so I got some really good practice in having rain and wind pelt against me. It was great. And then thankfully I only had to do it for 4 miles, and that still took a very long time. But so that's why my last day was really different this last time. Yeah, I don't think it'll ever, those options would probably never exist again, because it was a unique combination of things that they chose.
Does your husband come over with you on this adventure? What does he think of this? Is he a trail runner? What?
He does. He prefers 5Ks, maybe 10Ks, and he's done some half marathons, and he does cycling and jujitsu, and he's active in all his own ways. But he thinks I'm crazy.
What does he think about what he thinks you're crazy?
Totally crazy.
Thank you. Yeah, I get that too. Does he come with you when you go to Scotland to do this, or does he stay home and mind the fort?
Well, a combination. So the race is easier to spectate from home on the dot watching, because you can't really spectate it. There's only a couple places, because it's so remote. It's very hard to get to if you were actually a participant, or tracking a participant in person. And so both years he flew home the Friday that I headed to the race. So he would come over with me, and I went over both years. I went over ahead of time. There's one nice thing about working remotely is I was allowed to work from Scotland. And so I went over for 5 to 6 weeks both years, and had ran. I sat in Midwest time. So that's 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. there, which means you have most of the day to get your run in and go explore or go to breakfast or whatever it is. And then so then on the weekends too, I had some of those guided runs booked to help me do recce's and practice. And then, and then for the race, he was already home and he was kind of leading my text message group for the dot watching.
Got it.
Yep.
Now I want to talk about silo mode too. You mentioned, and we could talk as much or as little as you want. You mentioned breast cancer. Tell me about that, because I know on the video you sent me, you talked about that, and that happened before the first time you ran.
Between the two.
Tell me the timeline. Tell me the story, because I've got it mixed up in my head then.
No worries at all. No.
When did that happen?
So technically, the first time I did Cape Wrath, I had a cancerous tumor in my body, and I didn't know it. So.
You're kidding.
I mean, yeah. Thank goodness for mammography. Mammograms, please get them. If you're supposed to be getting them, please get them. I was just scheduled for my regular routine mammogram, and I often would get called back on those for extra scanning and things because my mammograms are really hard to read. And so I wouldn't have been surprised that I got called back. I just would have kind of expected to have a call back for a follow-up ultrasound.
Yeah.
But this time there was like two things that were weird. So one was that I had dreams that I had breast cancer, which is wild. I had no symptoms. I had no idea. But I had a couple dreams. And what had happened was I was dreaming that I got a job that I was interviewing for at the same time as I was preparing for Cape Wrath and heading over for Cape Wrath. Right before I left for the race, I had done a final interview for a job.
Yeah.
And my dreams, I had gotten the job and gotten breast cancer. So when I didn't get the job, then I was like, well, clearly I'm obviously not going to get breast cancer either. But then fast forward like 4 months later, and I walk into the doctor's office, and the minute he saw me, he had done previous year's scans, and so I knew who he was, and like he's standing there with my images up on the screen, and he's like, "I'm concerned. Like this is textbook," and it was like if you go home and Google the image, I'm like, that is exactly what it looks like on Google. It was just a textbook tumor and caught really early, not very big. The best case scenario of every kind, like it hadn't spread, it wasn't aggressive, the cells were nice. I definitely was very, very lucky. It was stage 1A, but it's still cancer, and it's still a wild roller coaster. And so it involved, that was August 9th was when I had my first biopsy and those mammogram results. And I went home that weekend with him saying that, we'll get your results for you. But, with my chart, you get some results before the doctor calls you to tell you what they mean. So then I Googled it, and it was essentially a 95% chance that it was cancer, that tumor, like the rating of it was going to be cancerous. And so I went into the weekend with the worst case, obviously, like knowing that it was cancer, most likely, but they had also done a biopsy of my lymph nodes, and I didn't know if it had spread. And that was a rough weekend. Lots of tears, just lots of emotions that weekend. And then after that, like getting a call from the doctor and finding out that it had not spread, my lymph nodes were clear, and all of that still meant that I had another 2.5 months before I knew whether I had to do chemotherapy or not. So even though I did have like the best case scenario, there's still other factors. Like I had to do genetic testing. I had to have my tumor through a lumpectomy. When they extract the tumor, they test it. And there's a test for my specific type of breast cancer. There's a test they can do called an oncotype test that can tell you the likelihood of recurrence.
Oh.
Those test results, if you score a certain number on that test, also are another way that you could end up having to do chemo, or it might be, in my case, chemotherapy would have done more damage than good. So that was, my score was very, very low. But again, you're just like constantly waiting. And then with the surgeries, then I had restrictions. And actually, it was mostly from your lymph nodes. So when they do the lumpectomy, they also take what are called sentinel lymph nodes. So they're the very first lymph nodes that your body, that would be fighting from the tumor. And so they inject dye into you. And they turn blue, and the first ones to turn blue get chopped out. So those are removed. And so your sentinel lymph nodes, some people might end up having all of their lymph nodes removed. I think I had 5 removed. And so that incision is in your armpit, but then it's a deeper incision. It's in your armpit, and then it's just that spot where you can't rub your incision, so you can't swing your arm. Yeah. And so even though I wasn't allowed to bounce and I wasn't allowed to swing my arm, but by golly, I could still walk and not do either of those 2 things.
And how long before the next, I always want to call it Grapes of Wrath, yes. Cape Wrath, how long before the next Cape Wrath is this, Erin? What's the timing?
So let's see. I think my surgery was in October and the race was mid-May. So like 8 months, I think.
Okay.
And so I had 5 weeks off of running and swimming, both. I try to swim a couple days a week as cross training. And so I had 5 weeks of just walking and not being allowed to move my arm. And then I couldn't swing the one arm. And then, so I just listened to my body. I was very careful to make sure I wasn't overdoing it because my body needed all the strength it had. Yeah. Because I also was getting ready for radiation treatment. So I really wanted to be sure I wasn't like wearing down my body. But what I found was that the emotional release of just getting out in nature and walking and breathing fresh air and taking that time for yourself. I mean, there were so many advantages. And then later with radiation, I was able to run through my radiation, and those runs, like actually moving and exercising reduced my fatigue. The days that I was the most fatigued were my rest days. Or even, like, oddly enough, the days after a weekend. Like, Mondays were always my worst treatment days. It's very strange. Yeah. Because by Friday, I would feel really good. And I'm like, but I just had 5 days of zapping. You know, like, how's that work? It was really interesting. And my doctors all thought I was completely bonkers. I mean, they definitely thought I was crazy. And they kept saying things like, "You're not our typical patient." I also didn't realize I was so young. Like I never considered myself young until, I was 43, I guess, almost 44 when I was diagnosed. Yeah. And everyone just kept saying, "Oh, well, you're so young," and I'm like, I don't feel very young, you know. But then you realize, like, when you go to treatment, many of the patients are much, much older, like elderly, and kind of in their 70s and 80s. And then you're like, oh, wow, I am young. There's like one other person who looks my age in this whole waiting room. You know, that was kind of, I don't know, that was an eye opener for me for sure. And that kind of meant that, you know, aside from running, I know we talk about running on here, but like, aside from running, it's changed a lot of decisions I've made about the rest of my life. And it's completely shifted my priority to be toward my health rather than my career.
How's it changed stuff?
Sure. I mean, for me, it just shifted that priority that I had spent a lot of my life up until the past few years. I'd spent a lot of my life like pushing career-wise, just like working all the time, giving up myself, my sleep, my health for my job. And some of that I had started already shifting in the pandemic. So we moved to Iowa because the reason we were able to move to Iowa to Decorah, which is a fantastic town, and I highly recommend everyone visit. It's just a magical town. We'd visited it for years and really wanted to live here. And the thing that made it possible was for me to quit my job. and switched to consulting initially, and then consulting for the local college, and then becoming a regular employee for them eventually. But so I had started kind of prioritizing health from the pandemic just because of burnout and kind of other things going on. But then once the cancer diagnosis happened, it really did change. Like I no longer am willing to sacrifice my body in the same way for work. I just can't do it. So I can do crazy things that, like ultra challenges and things like that, but that's for fun. That's by choice. That's like things that we're, type 2 fun kind of stuff. And so just kind of killing it for a title or a career, or the hustle culture side of things is just not for me. And thankfully, I have a really great, I love my position right now, and I love the support I have for choosing to stay less than full time and be able to, it just opens up that opportunity to have a more well-rounded life so that it's not all about work. Prior to moving to Iowa, I drove 500 miles a week for work, just commuting to our different locations at the time. And then I worked at least, I was a salaried employee. So of course in America, that's like for sure a 40-hour week. But then, as an administrator, 60, 80 weeks, sometimes, I never slept in my office, but it was some late nights sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So those kinds of things I changed. And then now I would say, like, I just really choose to plan my time so that I'm doing things that really fill my cup, and I'm still getting to work hard. I'm still getting to be ambitious and work on projects that are moving an organization forward with a great group of people. And I just choose a little bit different. I'm not interested in trying to kind of keep climbing any kind of ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that philosophy. I'm lucky, and I'm lucky. I've got a good job, and I'm calling this my last job. I'm 58. I'm knocking on wood. Hopefully they don't get rid of me next week, because we don't quite have the money to retire yet, but hopeful they'll keep me on. This is my last job. I love it. I work really hard, but at the same point, I'm in a point in my life, and I haven't had any health scares like that, but where I'm just like, job's important, but it's not, at the end of your life, that's not what I want to look back on and go, boy, I was really great at that frickin' job. Boy, man.
Right.
Remember that time I got that promotion? It's like, no, it's all these great adventures and family and friends and experiences that I think that's what I want to remember in my final moments. I wrote down, that video they did, and we can get back. I want to get back a little bit to that organization, because I know there's some news came out this year. You had a couple of quotes in that video, and it's so well done, that you said about your cancer diagnosis that changed your training, and I imagine changed your life philosophy, like what you're talking about. You said that it made you have to remain in the present and to face each challenge as it comes. And maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. But I think you were talking about your running, but that's probably also applicable to what you're saying for your life as well.
Well, that's one of the things about ultra running, is that you do have to stay in the present. You have to run the mile that you're in. You have to, stay focused on what's right in front of you. And you have to troubleshoot and problem solve. And those skills as an ultra runner truly helped me when I was navigating the treatment, and both like the mental space of it. It's sure similar to trying to navigate the mindset that you're dealing with when you're doing an ultra. And then, and just kind of the what is it? John Kelly says the only way is through.
Yeah.
So, the only way through pain or through the down, like any kind of down point that you have is through.
Yeah.
And then it did give me something to focus on. Knowing that I was registered for Cape Wrath in May, and knowing that I had to take 5 weeks off of running, then meant that, when I wrote that next training plan, that I was sure to be consistent. And, but it did give me that like kind of carrot to aim for, to keep getting out of bed and you just focus on something else that was outside of, the treatments. And I did have, I think I did 21 days of treatment, of radiation treatment. And then after that, you kind of have side effects as your skin changes. I was very lucky. I had a really good lotion, but your skin gets a little crispy if you don't treat it correctly as you're getting the radiation treatments. Then you get a little chicken fried armpit. There's no other way to say it, really. So it's quite uncomfortable. Really hurts.
Yeah.
But after that, you're still dealing with the tissue changing. So even right before Cape Wrath, for example, I had to go to a massage therapist in Scotland and have her do like A-stim, like really painful scar tissue breakup, because I had this like really weird either inflammation or some kind of tightening, so that as the tissue changes, it like can tighten. And I had to tape my ribs at that year at the race. Like I had KT tape running from my belly button up to my armpit because the interstitial muscles between my ribs were tugging and like hurting.
Oh god.
And then my pec was also having this weird like I had like my diaphragm on my left side stopped kind of working for a couple days. And I think it was from carrying my pack. I think my pack had like rubbed, kind of pushed on a nerve or a muscle in a way that then like a couple days later, like inflammation kind of drooped and transferred. The things that happen in our body with ultra running is crazy, right?
I know.
This is
people listening to this and don't do this, they're like, you guys are freaking dumb. Oh.
But it's true. Like, but all
true.
it took was one massage. I mean, it hurt really bad for 30 minutes. But actually, she fixed it, and I haven't had any issues since. Like, she's really, like, just got in there.
She did a great job. Oh, you got it cleared up. It's great now.
Exactly. It was
crazy.
It's just, like, weird things like that. So, and then also I would say that, I will never, kind of the last thing about it is that I will never let my guard down. Like, I will always, some part of me, in the back of my mind, in any kind of day, there's always a little thought of like, could it be back? Could it be a different kind of cancer? Like, if my body went rogue on me and my cells created a tumor without me knowing, when I thought at the time that I was the healthiest I've ever been, that is what kind of scares me about quote unquote being so young. And having to kind of figure out like, okay, well, I'm already a pretty healthy person, so now I need my cells to cooperate so that I don't get a different type of cancer also. And I do have cancer in my family, not genetically, as far as the genetic test results that I got back were all negative, but there's a lot of cancer in my family. And so it's just always something that's on my mind and always will be just in the background,
For sure.
Yeah.
I have 2 coworkers in the last 4 months that both women diagnosed with breast cancer, and they're both, I think, under or near the age of 40. Mm-hmm. So it's happening to younger people, and they're similar cases to you. I mean, from everything I've been told, they're saying it's stage 1. They're very hopeful. They're very optimistic. the not missing a ton of work time right now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my fingers crossed and thinking about them. But yeah, that's crazy. I yeah. All right. All right. I want to talk about. I want to talk about. Okay, before we get to Silomo, so
Yes.
you mentioned, I call it Grapes of Wrath, Cape Wrath, Grapes of Wrath, Cape of Wrath. You mentioned it to me, and I look it up, and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks great. And then what did I hear 2 weeks ago on
Yeah.
Free Trail? And then I saw the article on I Run Far. Is it pronounced Ore, the
It's
organization?
urea.
Oria. Oria. Oria Events. I don't know if they're Scottish, they're probably British. They're shutting down. What's going on? How bummed are you? Are you
Very, very bummed.
do we want to talk about it? What
Sure.
happened? Do we know what
Okay.
happened? Did you guys get any further information since you kind of know the race people, or what's going on?
So I don't know exactly how it translates to the US, but on March 12th, we were notified that the company had what they call ceased trading. So it was my understanding is a publicly traded company in the UK, and for whatever reason, whether it was interest on the debt had gotten too big and they couldn't pay it their next payment, or if a creditor kind of called in their chip and wanted their money or whatever it was, they ceased trading, and that means that they like closed their doors effective immediately.
Got it.
So the staff were like, the offices closed. There's nobody answering the emails. There's no, like, the websites are all still up and everything still looks like it exists.
Yeah,
but it does
I'm
not
like,
exist.
I can still register.
It does not exist.
Yeah, okay.
All of our registrations in the registration software are marked as canceled, and all four of their races for 2026 were canceled effective immediately.
Yeah.
And then now we're all in limbo. So it goes into administration is what it's called.
Yep.
And
It's basically Chapter 11 where they restructure, find a new buyer.
yeah.
I've dealt with that with my
Somebody
company
said it
sometimes.
might be more like Chapter 7 than Chapter 11 in the U.S.
Yeah, Chapter 7 is
Not really sure.
not. Yeah. There's a difference. One, there's a chance to restructure and get new ownership, and one, you're done.
Yeah.
You're just done. So.
And so I believe it's the one where they can restructure. And so lawyers have come in and they posted like one thing that was only about the Northern Traverse, which was the race at the end of March, that started in the end of March and was 2 weeks out from that notice that went out about the cancellation. So people were in taper.
Okay.
There's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of us that are hurting, that are very sad for the company and for everyone involved, every partner. Like, I've used many of the partners that they had used. I had friends that worked there. I knew people. There's not that many companies in my mind that I can name like the first names of most of the employees. But in this case, I had spent time with many of their employees and knew their first names, felt like I knew them. They're kind of part of that trail running culture, is like that trail running family. And for me, is like the Cape Wrath community was a huge part of my life. And so in the immediate, I was supposed to volunteer for Cape Wrath this year and no longer had a 10-day commitment of volunteering anymore, and had to figure out what to do with that. I was also registered for the Dragon's Tail, which was a 2-day stage race in September in Wales. That also is canceled. It was part of the Dragon's Back race. And so I had a race registration and a volunteer commitment all completely wiped out in a moment of getting the news. And then there are things, they've started sending letters, like the lawyers are starting sending letters to people in the UK about the fact that we're creditors, in their terms, like we're also creditors. And so there is, kind of get in line, go on this website and register your case and get in line. And if there's money, if they're able to sell the assets or restructure, find an owner, like whatever, then you may or may not get paid. There's also different ways that people can get reimbursed from their credit card companies, depending on their country. And so everybody's been kind of like dealing with that. One of the things that's really hard, I think, is that the private groups for both, like the Facebook groups for both Dragon's Back and Cape Wrath, well, for all of their races, those were all administrated groups, and so they're gone. So community-wise, like many of us are on WhatsApp chats with each other.
Sure.
And that's how we're able to reach out to each other and support each other through this. Yeah. But to not have like the whole group, it just means that like it's harder to reach people that that are as upset as you are, for example. So for me, like this week, yesterday, I just met with a couple ladies that feel really similar to me, where they had multi-year plans, and especially two of us had this unfinished business of missing a cutoff on day 7 and really wanting to go back. And and some other people, having their races deferred. I've have some friends that have had to leave the race for various reasons. And then this year we're finally going to get a chance to attempt the whole thing, all of it. I mean, yes, it's just a race. It's just a company. But some of us have put a ridiculous amount of our lives into it. And so maybe unreasonably, but it is what it is. Like, I can't help it.
I had not even heard of this stuff until you sent it to me. And then I started looking at it, and then listening to some of the podcasts when the news came out, I was like, oh shit, could it actually look like... I was looking like at the Dragon's Back and the Scotland skyline, and they had some really cool events. And all the feedback I heard was that it's just first rate, that they put on a great experience. They really do well. Is there any rumors that someone, I don't know, that UTMB or somebody might... Probably this year nothing's going to happen, because even if they got a buyer, it would take a while to organize and get that ready for next year. Any rumors about someone actually wanting to purchase any of the races or the organization?
I think that...
I don't know if you're an expert on it or if you've got inside news, but I'm just curious what your friends or what the community is saying.
I mean, there's definitely like a hope that Dragon's Back especially would be bought, because Cape Wrath, I don't think any of us thought it was making money. We weren't like foolish enough to think that, because we knew what we paid and we know what we got, and they didn't match. Like if anything, in my personal opinion, if Shane had any fault as a business owner and a runner of all of these things, it was to completely over deliver at every turn and give you a world-class experience with gold medal standard for safety and organization, and not charge enough for all of that. And so therefore things did not go well. Like, it wasn't good management in that sense. But I would never fault them for quality or commitment. And so, like, I really feel for all of them for that. And that's where, because of that, whatever does happen next will never be the same. It can't be the same because it needs to cost more, and it needs to have less. I mean, it makes sense that it won't ever be the same, that we got to experience this completely unique thing. But there are big enough race companies that can put on a really great experience. And yes, it will cost more, but it will be sustainable. And that's important too. And so I don't know who will end up buying them, But Dragon's Back versus Cape Wrath seems easier to do. It seems a little closer to civilization. It seems it's shorter. It's 6 days instead of 8 days. It's not as remote and hard to get to as Cape Wrath. Yeah. And so there's elements like that. And then Northern Traverse and Skyline Scotland were not expedition, like multi-day stage races. They were all at once. So Northern Traverse is, I believe, 300 kilometers, still, a huge race, but from along the northern edge of England, from coast to coast, but it was all in one go, so a little bit different again. So that one also could sell well. And then I think, I could be wrong, but I feel like they just had purchased Skyline Scotland themselves, that it was a race that was originally maybe the Glencoe Skyline. I kind of lost the thread a little bit about where the race came from and what they changed about it. But I feel like they bought it a couple years ago, resurrected it. The other thing about Dragon's Back is it existed prior to Urea. Urea, again, like bought it and resurrected it and brought it back and created a thing. And then the last thing is those races all used to be every other year. So maybe that model of going back to every other year might still work. What's unfortunate is that race registrants are doing the opposite. They're all hopping into races at the last minute. They're making race directors do all this investment and do all this infrastructure, and then they're registering at the last minute and they're flooding to UTMB's races. And so the smaller races, in the UK, I've heard from multiple race directors, posting different things about their races and how they're struggling to fight that. And then I know some people in the US too that are worried about the sustainability of their companies, because as much as trail running is like exploding and taking off, it's also in a lull in certain areas with certain types of ways of getting involved with it, right? Yeah. And so that is a huge challenge that we have to kind of navigate as an entire community. And I think Urea being such a big company in the UK, such a major player in the trail running global scene, really, but definitely the UK scene, meant that it opened people's eyes and made people kind of think about where they're putting their money, hopefully.
Yeah. It'd be like one of the big companies like Aravaipa or Daybreak or one of those in the US. Yeah. Shutting down. Tim Tollefson said that too on Free Trail. He's like, guys, if you like your race you're doing, register for it early. Do not wait until the end, because those race directors cannot budget and plan and sustain those races with people just registering at the last minute. So go register for your races. That's right. Storm of the Park, Storm of the Bluffs, Storm of the Day.
Storm of the Farm.
Jameson's races. Jameson Swift, I had him on the other week. He's awesome. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Silema. I want to be respectful of time. You're right. We're just chatting away here. We're eating up the time.
We knew this would happen.
I know. This is great. This is my podcast, folks, man. If you're here for just a quick minute, you're at the wrong podcast. It's Running Behind. Hello. The name is Running Behind. These things go long. Silemo. Yeah. 3 days of Silemo. We've decided Silemo. Let's just say Silemo.
That works.
How did you find out about it? What the heck is it?
All right. Well, I found out about it because it is in the Ozarks, which are mountains without altitude that are very similar to the Scottish Highlands. They're our own little Scottish Highlands version. Yep. Very similar terrain to Scotland. I think actually like the mountains are the same age, maybe that kind of thing, but the rock is very similar and evil, pure evil. So it's a 3-day stage race. I had some friends from Kansas that had done it in the past. It's definitely on the radar of a lot of people in the Midwest. And there's, so I was in eastern Kansas. I was a Lawrence Trailhawk. Shout out to the Trailhawks. And there's also in Kansas City, the Waco Wolfpack, which is another trail running group. They would always volunteer. And so even when I was like volunteering at races in Kansas, I would meet people from the Waco Wolfpack and they would be talking about Silamo and be at the race, that kind of thing. So I attempted it in 2024 as a little baby Cape Wrath practice. Because you can tent camp, you can try to make cutoffs, you can have very similar terrain and lots of vert, and it's only an 11-hour drive from my doorstep instead of a transatlantic flight. So in 2024...
It's 3 days, Erin, right? It's 3 days, 3 different distances.
Yep.
It's a 50K, a 20K... and
a 50 miler in the middle of that.
50 miler in the middle. God dang you. All right. Got it. And it's in Arkansas and it's on the trails. Okay.
And so the same thing, 2024, I did the 50K. It went pretty well. Then 10 miles into the 50 miler, my tibialis anterior flared up. So that's that nice tendon on the front of your shin that you have to use to lift your foot at all or drop your foot. And so that started aching a little bit. And lesson learned, if you're in a lot of pain and you're going to drop anyway, and it's an out and back course, don't forget you can turn around and go back to the aid station that's only a mile away. I did not do that. I was like, I have to keep moving forward because relentless forward progress, right?
Yes.
It's point to point. So I kept moving forward, and that took 8 more miles, which took several hours at a very slow, very painful hobble.
Ouch.
And this year, when I went back over that terrain again with an able-bodied leg, I cannot even understand how I did that in the amount of pain that I was in. I couldn't, I'm like the river crossings, the climbs, the rocks, like all of it. Like, how did I hobble my way those 8 miles? That was like a little survival, I think, for me of like, I'm going to die out here if I don't get to that aid station. But again, lesson learned, you can go the other direction because the aid station was only a mile behind me. Could have turned around and been done for the day, but no. So I hobbled to the aid station, dropped, and was unable to, I could barely walk in camp the rest of the day. And I definitely was not able to do the next day. So 50K completed DNF and a DNS for the 20K.
Okay.
Big blow up.
That was 2024?
24, yep. And so this year it came back.
Yeah. And a bit more success. Tell us about it.
50K went slower, but surprise, it was the hottest 3 days of Silamo they've ever had. And that race is over 20 years old. It was in the 90s every single day.
Okay.
You might remember that I said I don't do well in heat.
Yeah.
But I actually I gave myself an A+ for self-management. I did such a good job of dialing in my electrolytes, staying like all my cooling techniques, my nutrition, like there was no puking, there was no bonking, there was no overheating. I kept all of it under control, which I could not have ever imagined in a million years was possible. And I did it for 3 days, which just blew my mind. I was a little proud of myself because I just couldn't believe I did it and that all my plans worked. Planner, right?
Yep. Planner.
So the 50K I almost missed the cutoff at the finish, but I think he did let some other people through after me, but I was done like 8 or 9 minutes from the cutoff that day.
Okay.
And overall, because it's a 3-day stage race, you're trying to not like really push hard on the 50K. Mm-hmm. You're trying to save yourself for the 50 miler that's the next day. Yep. And I was closer to the cutoff than I thought I was, but I was throughout the day, I felt like I was just kind of managing myself and doing the best I could. And so on the next day, on the 50 miler, I made one really big error. And then no matter what, with or without that error, I would have still not made the cutoff for the 50 miler. The 50 miler cutoff is known to be very fast.
How many hours?
The first cutoff it's like a 3.8 miles per hour, I think, is the average pace that you have to make for the first cutoff. And then it's like 3.7 miles per hour for the rest of the day. And I was thinking, okay, that's possible. I did do a 50K a 20 miler in February. That was the exact pace required. And then I forgot what the terrain actually looked like. Yeah. And how, especially the first part of that course that day is a lot of climbing, a lot of rock, a lot of, for me, difficult terrain. And then you get to the part that you can run for the most part. So like you can run eventually, but you got to get through all the other stuff first. So you lose a ton of time. For me, like I lost a ton of time on the first part. And then by the time I could run, by then, blisters had started hurting and I was trying to manage myself in the heat and just all the things you're normally doing. So I dropped it. The 22.75 miles was the aid station that I dropped at, and there was lots of company. There was even someone who had done like over 100 ultras and had never DNF'd. It was his first DNF ever, and he was rightfully sad. He was normally, a much faster runner. Yeah. But even he was saying that some of the people that he was seeing their finish times, even for the fast front of the pack, were like 2.5 hours off their normal time of what they're capable of because of the heat. And so the fact that my 50K was only an hour off of my previous time, I was thrilled with that, Yeah. And then the last day is a 20K, listed as a 20K, but it's actually a half marathon. And so it's it's a very heavy 12 miler. But it's a half marathon, and you have a very generous cutoff on the last day. And the only thing that I didn't know about was there's an unmanned aid station. So they don't have the ice and the
just a water stop kind of
juice
deal.
Pops and all the things that they had on the other 2 days. They have water and they've got some chips and some other stuff. And so again, like the Sunday started, it was 80 degrees at the start at 9 a.m. And so again, you're just like, I've done this for 2 other days, but that's a cumulative effect with stage races is now you're more tired, your thermal regulation isn't as strong, and you're also trying to stay cool without the option of ice. And so again, I couldn't have been happier with what I was able to achieve, but I don't even know what my time was actually for that half marathon. I just know I finished it and was happy.
So you got 50K in, 20K, 70K, and then you got another 22.5 miles in. That's a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, it was like 68 miles total, I think.
Nice. Nice. Nothing wrong with that.
And I've still got healing blisters and toenails that show that I worked hard.
Love it. I want to talk about your coaching business. You messaged me today. I did not know that. And I didn't do enough research because I should have looked that up. What the hell? You're a
very new.
coach now? How did that come about? I read through the website real quickly after you sent it to me, and I'm so impressed. You did not mention that when I met you in January, so this was happened since then? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's something that I've been working toward. So officially, like in my mind, I created a run coaching business in October, but it is for right now a side gig, and so I wanted to be again intentional and a planner. Those are my words for a reason, and so I wanted to be really intentional with making sure that I like got things figured out. I'm not a natural entrepreneur. I don't know things like some people. Just creating businesses comes naturally to them, and it's not something that comes naturally to me. I just know that I've had a couple people mention that I should think about being a coach. Mostly, I think, because I'm bossy and I kind of give them a lot of information. I usually tell people, probably why our podcast is 2 hours long, is because I give them a bunch of information that they didn't ask for because I want them to succeed. And so I spend a lot of my time like learning so much about all of the different elements of ultra running and trail running, especially. And I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always constantly trying to develop myself. And I feel like people should benefit from all this knowledge that's crammed up in my brain. And especially just knowing that the things like the benefits of having a coach is just you have someone to help you stay accountable, to encourage you, to support you. In my case, I really think not only do slower runners not think that they deserve a coach or that they're worthy of one, but I know when I hired a coach and finally did get a coach, I was training way harder than I needed to be. And I know some of your other guests have commented on that too. Often a coach is just helping you realize that you're overtraining, and that's why you're exhausted. And that's why training's hard to fit in your schedule, is because you think that you have to do so much more than you actually do. And so from working with a coach, I have learned some different things. I don't have a coach now, but I do use someone as a mentor. So I write my training plans and then I have him weigh in on whether I'm being ridiculous with myself. Okay. And I think that's also important. So I offer both comprehensive coaching where I write the training plan, but I also have accountability coaching as an option for people that want to write their own training plans, or I don't even care. You can use AI if you really want to, then go for it. But if you also then want someone to help answer your 1,000 other questions about all the other elements of the race and the different elements of running and trail running and troubleshooting and all of it, and to keep you accountable to keeping that consistent performance up, then there's an accountability coaching option as well. Yeah. And also one-off. So there's, I do throw on there too, just one-time consultations. So if people wanted to meet to go really deep on blisters or foot care or
Silomo,
like fueling or a specific race. Yeah, exactly. Like all those different things. Originally, I was thinking it would be for Cape Wrath because I just know so much that's now useless. But I know so much about that race. So many details. So you never know. But that's kind of where that's where I'm coming from. And I just think that I really want to support people, and I have done it for, different friends, even somebody that I just met in the Sally McRae Facebook group. I've informally, met with her over Zoom for about 6 months, just kind of helping her through her first ultra. And so now it's a thing.
I love it. I read it. I'm like, well, this is wonderful. This is our people, Erin. You're a coach for our people, for DFLers.
That's right.
I'm not talking about political party, for DFLers, DNFers. You're the coach for the common people. And like you said, you've got 3 different levels. You can do comprehensive accountability, and then one-time stuff. And you've got your coaching certification through I don't even know these organizations. That's so dumb.
I have one
Roadrunners
that's
Club
a
of
road running
America.
one. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm still working on my USCA certification for ultra running.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, I mean, you don't have to have certifications, but for me, again, lifelong learner, and I really wanted to just get some of the official theory, especially from the road running perspective, because there might be people that want to have some coaching for road races. And it's not that I don't know about those, but they are a little different. And I know more. I think you'll see that my website is geared toward trail and ultra running for a reason, just because that's where I know so much more about it.
Nice. Did you, here's a silly question. Did you build your website? I'm in the process right now of trying to put a website together. Did someone do that for you? Did you do that?
I did it. I just used, when I converted my blog, actually, I used to have a blog from a few years ago, and that's why it's erinshaw.blog is my website address. And I just figure keeping it simple.
Yeah.
But it's just a WordPress template, and then I like the most basic WordPress template that I could possibly find, because I don't like the ones that. So I created a lot of the things that are on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I am. My friend and I were putting together an immigration advocacy campaign. I'm trying to create a website for it, and I've got a designer, but she's really busy, so I'm trying to get some stuff done. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. This looks good. Okay. Gosh, my God, it's 2 hours. Here we go. We're at 2 hours. I want to get back to my questions. I want to be respectful of time. So I've got some kind of questions here to end this up. First question, what's your plans for this year? What are your races for this year? What are your goals? You're a planner. Now I know you're not doing the, grapes of wrath, but what are your other plans for this year?
So I'm still going over to the UK 3 times as originally planned, because I already had my flights and I already had my plans and lodging outside of the races and the recce's. Okay. So I'm still doing those things. And then in trying to figure out what else should I do with my time instead of Cape Wrath training, I'm still debating, but most immediately, tomorrow I head to Zumbro to volunteer. Next weekend we've got Storm the Park. Yep. And then I think I will do Chester Woods, like the Storm the Woods, the new race. I think I might do that. That's right after I get back from the UK. Okay. So I will be there one way or another, either volunteering or running it. And then also the Crater is the day before in Decorah. The Crater Trail Run, highly recommend. Please come and do it. It's so good. It's the first Saturday of June. 5K, 10K, 25, and 50K options.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Beautiful trails that I get to live with all the time. I'm so spoiled. All right. And then after that, longer term, I have been trying to figure out if I could do all of the Storm series this year. I might be able to. I think I have the days open on my calendar. Good. And
Bill and Mandy, maybe a special buckle or something if she does them all in one calendar year.
Yep. She's got, I can't remember what it is, but they just sent an email about it not too long ago about if you do 4 or 5 of the series. And so I'm tempted. I was tempted by that. And then the crazier one that I think is still open is Hitchcock. Do you know about Hitchcock?
No. Tell me.
So Hitchcock is in December. It's technically in Iowa, but it's over by Omaha. So it's almost
Iowa.
It's like 5 hours away
sled
from
involved?
me.
What is this?
I mean, it could have, but I like cold. I do like winter running. So, so Hitchcock has I'm not exactly sure. I feel bad because I should know more before I talk about it on a podcast, but the loop is listed as just under 5,000 feet per loop. And I think that's for the 20-mile loop, which is for the 100-miler. There's a 50-miler that uses a 16.75 mile loop that I'm sure has a lot of vert in it as well. So I like vert and I like challenges and I like cold. So again, this is an Erin kind of race. I have had friends who have attempted different distances at this race and said it's the hardest race they've ever done. So also checks my boxes for good challenges. And then, I mean, it is Storm the Bluffs weekend, so I would miss that. Okay. I was trying to figure out how to do Storm the Bluffs and then drive to the 50 miler also starts at 9 p.m. So that would be a new thing for me, is to do an overnight race.
Yeah.
Lots of challenges.
Yeah.
And then if I'm feeling really crazy, you know how Ultra Sign Up does that? You just kind of look at it with your head tilted and you're like, yeah, I mean, sure.
Looks good on paper.
They do have the 101K the hard way option, which is a half marathon on Saturday morning that starts at 5:30 a.m. And then the 50 miler at 9 p.m. on the same day. So it's not quite a stage race, but almost.
Okay.
There's a 12-hour difference between the two. I don't know. That's where my crazy is right now, is debating
and
between.
Where's that one? The 101K
it's
the hard way?
the Hitchcock, different options at Hitchcock.
Okay,
yep.
That's at Hitchcock.
And
so that's
I think
in December. In Iowa.
Yeah.
Bring your snowshoes.
And then after that, I think I might actually try my first snowshoe race this year.
Really? Jameson's? Yeah. Are you going to do my buddy Jameson's race?
I'm not sure yet. It's on my calendar, but I'm way too scared to register for it yet. I've never used a polk or started a camp stove.
It's okay. I don't know if you listened to the episode with Jameson.
Not
yet.
But
listen to it and you will immediately sign up. Because he's made that race for people like you that want to dip their toe in it. Because there is no 40 mile. It's all 135 miles. Yes. It's all very long distances like the Arrowhead races and the other ones. Yeah, it's perfect. And it's St. Croix Park. It's beautiful. Not too long of a drive for you. My buddy Joe Harden, who's a fellow podcaster, he's basically going to do it. He's signed up to do it. He lives in Indiana, and he's like, he really wants to try it out, and it's the perfect race to try that out. So yeah.
So that's kind of, St. Croix 40 is definitely on my calendar. I'm not sure if I can do it or not, but it's there. And then, longer term, it'll all just depend on how things like St. Croix 40 go.
Okay.
And then, if I'm going to attempt Arrowhead, I have to have a 100-miler qualifier. So that means I have to run 200-mile races plus 100-plus mile races.
Okay.
This is what happens. You just start.
I know. It's
you think
snowball.
One thing and then it goes out of control.
It's a snowball. I know. Dream race. Is there a dream race? Assume that the training is there, the money is there, the travel time is there. Is there a dream race somewhere on the globe that maybe it's Cape Wrath? You've already done it, but what's a dream race that you would love to do?
I think for me, Cape Wrath is my dream race, but there's certainly other ones that are on the list. And even, if we continue with crazy UK challenges, the spine race, any of the spine race distances would be another, that's kind of more my 5-year plan, is to try to do one of the spine sprints. So that's 40 miles, but in mountains in the middle of winter in the dark. It's going to need some training there. And I think, I don't know that it's a dream race because it's just so scary. And like a dream race, I want to have something really fun to whoa, this will be great. But
nightmare race.
Yeah, but in general, keeping with my theme, something spiny would be really fun. And maybe even a summer spine where you can at least see where you're going while you're freezing to death. You know, it's also can be very cold in the summer spine,
Yeah.
and very wet, but you can at least, it's daylight.
Yeah.
That's the
All right.
benefit.
I had a couple more here. Hobbies other than running. What do you like to do?
I do like to cook. That's one. I do cook all the time, and I like to cook for other people, and I really like to cook with local ingredients, like with farmers
Nice.
markets and local farmers stuff. So that is definitely one. I reading and traveling and I think those are, and volunteering. So not just at races, but also with other. It's still kind of running adjacent, but doing some community involvement is important to me too.
All right. Well, we're at that point, Erin. My pod defining moment. You know this moment. You know it. I
ready.
need to hear from Erin her 5 favorite pieces of gear when
I'm
you're
ready for
out
this one.
trail running. Good. Let's go.
So I went with what I really rely on heavily. It was hard to do
Hard to
because
only
they're not
pick
glamorous.
5.
They're not glamorous,
Yeah, that's fine. They don't have to be
but
glamorous.
they are absolutely critical to my success in almost any terrain and temperature and all of it. Like I've tested it, and tried and true kit is like your ride or die. So that's what I'm going with. So the first one is actually locking caps on your hydration flasks. I used to have a pair from Ultimate Direction where you can lock the caps on them, and those broke eventually. And now I just got some from Innovate that are amazing. So, for example, at Silamo, I had to carry more than 1,000 milliliters on my front bottles. I do not use bladders. It's not me.
Yeah.
So instead, I carry lots of separate flasks. So being able to have a locking cap on my hydration flask, my 500 milliliter hydration flask, I just stick it right in the back and then reach up and grab it when the front ones are empty and switch them out. It has worked so great for me, and it just makes sure that you're not leaking in your pack. So locking caps on your hydration flasks, amazing.
Got
Number
it.
2.
Innovate, you said.
Yeah, Innovate are the brand that I have most recently, and I really am liking them.
Great.
Number 2 are sun sleeves. And I actually have cycling ones. I have Pearl Izumi cycling ones that are white, which are now covered in blood and dirt stains.
Such a glamorous sport.
So glamorous. So I look like I just rolled around in a lot of grossness, but by golly, not having to put sunscreen on your arms is really nice.
They are basically, they're the sleeves, right? And you could also get them wet and keep you cool.
Yes.
I just bought my
so
first
great.
pair. I'm excited to try them out. I've got my first pair, so I'm gonna try them out. I might try them out at Storm in the Park. Keep my arms warm. So,
Yeah. I think what's nice is you put them on dry in the morning when the race is cooler. And then in situations like with Silamo, the nice thing is you have the river crossings. And so as you're going on the water crossings, I'm just drowning myself, like coating myself in all the cold water I can.
yep.
And so you end up soaked, but they're compression sleeves too. So it's not like the fabric's moving and chafing you or anything like that when it's wet, which is also really nice. And then, mine are UPF 50, so I don't even put sunscreen on. And so I used them at Cape Wrath, and then I've used them at Silamo and a couple other things since then. Okay. My Naked hip belt. So Naked is the brand.
Yep.
They make a hip belt that doesn't bounce. Thank you, Sally McRae, for introducing me to it. It doesn't bounce, and it holds your poles on the back. And then it has pouches in the front and back. All the way around, there's storage different spaces that you can stuff things. And there's also a car key clip. So that is really nice. So in the summer, a lot of times, like, it can be nice just to use the hip belt, or, you know, if you don't want to wear a pack, but you still want to kind of have a couple gels and your keys secure and those kinds of things. I really have liked it. But for racing, especially in that 50-mile distance, I carry so much food. I eat every 30 minutes. So it is a lot of weight, and it's nice to shift some of the bulkier things down to your hips. I've also found that with my poles on my tailbone on the back of my hips, that it does change my center of gravity a little bit. And you know, with a pack, how it kind of pulls you forward when it's really heavily loaded on the front, you kind of get tippy, and that just helps counterbalance and pull me back a little bit. And that has been really nice. So naked hip belt, number 3. Number 4 are shirts from Montaigne, which is a UK company. And so there might be a US company that does this also, but Montaigne makes these shirts that are called the Dart shirts, and they're treated with Polygene, which is like antimicrobial protection. Okay. And I have worn these shirts on Cape Wrath. I wear the same outfit every day. You're limited on the weight of your bag at Cape Wrath, and I have to make choices that limit because I need so much food and room for food for being so slow. I need to make some choices of things to cut. So I can't have a nice perky outfit for every single day and also have the amount of food that I need for my races. Right. And so these Montaigne shirts, by being treated, they don't get smelly. Right. It's really nice. You can just do less laundry also, like just in the regular time of year, you can just hang them and then use them again. And that's good for the environment. So I really like those.
Not only good for you, they're really nice for the other folks in tent number 5.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it.
And then the last one was hard to kind of decide what to pick, but I went with my Under Armour tights because I think I have one pair of tights that's not Under Armour brand, and I have both heat gear tights that I've worn for 2 full Cape Wrath weeks, and I have all my cold weather tights that like are truly how I survive the winter. This year I did get some insulated running pants that are like snow pants, but they don't get weird when you run in them. And those have changed my life. They almost made the list, but we're going to just go with my Under Armour tights.
Which brand?
They're from Montaigne also.
Oh, okay. I have some John G ones that I really like too, when I run outside.
Such a game changer. Yeah. I went out I'm nowhere near Arrowhead 135 temperatures yet, but I did at least run in minus 15 for the first time, like super comfortably. So it was great.
I ran when it was 30 below, but I was inside on my treadmill. Does that count?
I also don't train on a treadmill at all, so I only run outside. I'm a weirdo.
Good for you. You're so much better than me. All you guys are better than me. God
Not
dang it.
at all. It's just different.
I like my treadmill. I get my climbing in. That's what I've been doing lately. I haven't been running a lot, but I've been climbing, doing the 12-3-30 workout, which is 12 degrees or 12% incline, whatever, 3 miles an hour, 30 minutes. My God.
It's going to be great for
I feel like I'm running 8-minute miles when I'm done. I'm like...
Yes.
I'm up to about 7,000 or 8,000 feet of gain a week. So I'm like,
yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, doing all right. So I'll be slow as shit at Storm the Park, but I'm going to nail those hills, man. I'm going to leave Mario and Eric in the dust. Yeah.
I think you'll be
surprised.
Don't
catch me on the downhills, but still. All right. That's, I've taken a lot of your time. This has been absolutely delightful. I knew it would be. I absolutely knew it would be. This is so fun. I will see you next week at Storm the Park. And good luck tomorrow at Zumbro. Tell everyone I said hi. My buddy Jameson will be taking photographs. John from Terra Loco's running. If you remember John, who spoke
he spoke at the resolution night.
He's doing, I don't know if he's doing the 50K or the 50 miler. And
Okay.
then Chris Sullivan, who's also a Rochester person, friends with Jason Reeve and everybody at Terraloka, is running, I think he's running the 50 miler 3 laps. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I'm doing aid station, start finish aid station tomorrow evening, then 50 miler check in from 10 to midnight, and then I'm sweeping. So
Nice.
yeah, so I'm really excited about it. John asks that you commit to 3 years if you're going to be trained as a sweep, because they just want that continuity with it's a lot of training. And so this is my newbie year as a sweep at Zumbro. And so we'll do the full 17-mile loop. So I'll get to see it all.
Nice.
I haven't
Do you
done
know
it
who
yet,
you're
so it'll be
sweeping
fun.
with? Do you know who the other sweeps are? Amber, I interviewed Amber Thielbar. She was a sweep last year. Maybe she'll be the back. I don't know.
I don't remember if she is a sweep or not. I don't remember seeing her name on the list, but I'll have to check again and look for her.
Sounds good. Remember, you gotta watch for those people that are limping along like those poor robots of BattleBot. Give them the count out. I'm gonna count down from 10. Keep moving.
I was telling him that, like, I'm very familiar with the sweep. I'm usually just trying to stay in front of it. I haven't done the sweep because I'm
know
always
about the sweeping.
trying to stay out of their way.
Just seeing it from a different angle is all. That's all. So
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, this is delightful. Have a great weekend at Zumbro. And by the day this airs, I will probably be seeing you out at the course at Storm of the Park. So
Fantastic. Can't wait.
fantastic.
This
Yeah,
was
me
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Too. Thank you. Erin Shaw, you are an inspiration. And thank you for sharing your stories. What a treat to get to know you better. Hearing about all of your adventures and adversity makes me truly believe that we really can do more than we know. As you mentioned in the interview, I will have a link to the trail running film archive and the Cape Wrath Ultra Race. Even though you can't race it anymore, you can at least see what all the fuss was about. I will also have a link to the wonderful film made by Cape Wrath Ultra that featured you, and of course, a link to your coaching website. I'll be rooting for you no matter what you do. Well, that's it for this time. Until next time, cheers and take care of yourselves. Keep running, keep walking, keep moving. Don't become that slow-moving robot on BattleBots that gets counted out. Keep pushing forward any way you can, and you will get there. You will cross that finish line. The Ocean in You by Nikita Gill. Every time you think you are broke, know this. No one can break an ocean. All you are doing is breaking through the glass that is holding you imprisoned. Diving deeper into your very own depths, discovering yourself in the pockets of the most somber waves. Rebuilding your heart with coral, with seaweed, with moon-colored sand. So stop trying to hold yourself back inside the glass. It was never meant to hold you. Instead, break it. Shatter into 1,000 pieces and become who you were meant to be. An ocean. Proud and whole.